Episode number 569. My name is John Morgan, and cold coffee is with me on the weirdest of MMA days ever. I pull out my phone, log into X, and I got Sean Strickland quotes everywhere.
Yep.
I got the Variety wrote an article about it, and everybody's talking about that. I got this Dan Hooker stuff that's making its way. People putting his business out there. Apparently, I don't know if it's legit or not, but somebody trying to wreck his life and whatever. And
Crazy day.
And
the weather sucks in
Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah, and I think that made it
That's
worse.
what it was,
It's
'cause
cold
the
and
weather was
raining
cold.
on top of that. So I was like, you know what? I need a little bit of, it's cold. I'm curled up in my sheets. I'm like, I need some warm sunshine. Let me log into Twitter here and see what's going on in my MMA world. And yeah, that's the right back in the bushes, the Homer Simpson, the little, the meme with like the little mouse that goes back in or whatever. I'm like, no, that's enough Twitter for today.
That's enough Twitter for today. Boy, and that's easy to happen any day. But yeah, it's funny because I am not Mr. On it Twitter. I had some meetings, and until you mentioned, have you seen this stuff? And I was like, no. And I opened up X, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. What a crazy, crazy day. And it wasn't already crazy enough with, of course, it's a Sean Strickland fight week. So you know you're going to hear all kinds of madness, and he certainly followed his normal pathway of creating a lot of horrible moments on the web.
Yeah, it's weird, man, because I'm very much a free speech kind of guy. I'm not a cancel culture guy. Like, that guy needs to lose his job right now. He should not be able to support his family. He should not be able to make a living because of the words that are coming out of his mouth.
Yep.
I'm not that guy. But it does seem like Sean just wants to press it as far as possible. You know what I mean? Like the whole Bad Bunny controversy thing, whatever. I thought that kind of stuff was just silly to begin with, right? But but he's not even having like that discussion. It's it's all this homophobic stuff and saying whatever, and then talking trash about women's fighters and women's sports. So, and I don't know, man. It's just like I said, a little controversy, I've got an opinion that's out there, whatever. Fine, but it goes so far with Sean every time, and I don't know. Like I said, I saw this article from Variety where they were talking about it, an entertainment publication, which I guess is probably because of the Paramount deal. I guess the UFC is more on their radar now than it was in the past.
When you're in the bed with Paramount, which, like, if this is going to be on their platform and you have a guy that's going out there saying all this homophobic things and just these ultimately sort of women bashing, even though he was just mainly talking about the sports. I didn't watch the full interview. I just saw the highlights. You see one Sean interview, you kind of seen them all, but I guess I could go back just to be fully informed of what he said, but I just choose to not do that.
Yep.
I once you see a little bit of the highlights, you're like, okay, I don't need to see the rest of it. But just being such a forward organization, you got to think like, okay, this is the guy that's going to headline one of our cards, but it's like you almost feel like you don't want to take any of those clips that from his media day and put it out in your own branding,
right?
Because then you're aligning yourself with it. In the past, and I guess this is the point where people are like, oh, see, that's cancel culture. A lot of this shit that he said is horrible, and you don't want to put that out there, and you're putting all this money behind the product. You don't want to see it. You don't want young women to see it. You don't want people to see it because it is just off-putting. It's off-putting just to be off-putting.
Right.
Like if he was really trying to make a point about something in general, have your point, say something. But he literally it was just a platform where he could just spew his disgust with things out there, and it's just like, what's the point?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And again, I'm very much everybody needs to live their life and say what they say and feel the way they feel. But you're right. It's not like it's trying to accomplish anything, right? Yeah. It's not like, hey, guys, I want to make you aware of this issue we're facing as a society, and this is where I believe we need to come together to make it better for all of us. It's just kind of like even if you're hate speak, I guess.
Yeah, say if there was still debate on who should be the Super Bowl, and like your input actually mattered.
Right.
Why does it even matter? Now you want to go back and just complain about something that's in the past now just because you want to live on it? You felt like there wasn't enough division about that subject already. You wanted to bring it up just to do it. It just doesn't make any sense. And what's crazy to me is like as many times as we've heard from a lot of teammates of his They say he's incredible to do work with in the gym. He's one of the best teammates ever. But then we also hear from the same teammates that you got to work with somebody and you can't pick your teammates often. But they're literally, they're like, ugh, why do I got to go to the gym and see this? We've seen with him recently bringing, what's that fucking kid's name? Kyle, or the kid that shot.
Rittenhouse, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that it?
Yeah, Kyle, right?
Kyle, I think.
Kyle Rittenhouse. And then he's bashing women in sports. Like, he has female teammates.
Well, that's
the thing. Like, how do they feel going to the gym knowing that he thinks everything that they're doing is just, it's a waste of time?
Yeah.
And like, what are you doing? I mean, like, it's one thing if they say, okay, I've had talks with him and he's just playing a character, I can take being his teammate and say these other things. If not, that's got to feel something to them like, bro, we're in here grinding, sweating, we're putting in just as much effort, and then when you're off somewhere else, you're shitting on our effort.
Right.
Like, how is that being a good teammate?
And even if you're the UFC, how could you support him? And again, I know Dana always says, hey, people are going to say what they say. We don't tell people what to say and what not to say.
They're fighting. It's a fighting thing.
But he's insulting, a large portion of your roster and just saying nobody cares about this. These are inferior people. They're incapable. That seems like a bad business decision too. You know what I mean? So it seems like, hey, I thought we were business partners here. Like, I provide this platform for you to compete on. So I don't know. I hate to spend too much time even going into it because it is just Sean Strickland at this point, and it's what we know.
Yeah.
It's no surprise, but it was interesting to see how much play that was getting, and I guess maybe like new eyeballs seeing it. I don't really think anything's going to be done about it, to be honest.
Yeah, with you. and that's kind of thing because you wondered if they really wanted to stop happening, what that would happen. They would either just taking him off the media day and just say set up one-on-ones or whatever, and maybe try to do whatever. But by giving him the platform, because they're just so used to putting the headliners, they're knowingly allowing him to use that platform to spew whatever madness that hits his mind. Like, ultimately, I think at the end of the day, he probably thinks it's just a giant joke, and it's just, I'm just having fun. I'm teasing you. If you can't take it, get off the ride. This is the Sean show. But still, at some point, they have to take ownership for giving him the platform, whether it be good or bad. And at some point, is it, like you said, good business to have somebody that's shitting on half of what your business model is? If you're going to get rid of women's MMA at some point and you think it's not worth it, maybe then you don't care. But if it's going to be part of your business plan, it's a big part of Power Slap. Who knows if it's ever going to get into the Zuffa boxing area. But, the BJJ, they have female athletes as well. If that's part of your business, why do you want half of your potential fighters to feel like they have to walk around eggshells around one of your fighters because he's actively shitting on everything that they do?
I mean, that honestly, to me, like, that could be a reason to say, and again, this is from a business perspective. Again, I'm not a silence people. I'm not a censor people. But I would think that would, if you were UFC, maybe you go like, why do we want this guy if he's insulting half of our roster? And not insulting in a way that, like, he's trying to start a fight. Like, that's one thing, right? Like, this middleweight sucks because I'm just trying to stir up some interest. But if you're saying nobody should even watch the women's divisions, like, Sean, that's a big part of our business. You know what I mean? Why are you telling people not to watch it, that it's irrelevant and that, it doesn't matter? So, I don't know. That would be the only thing I think that might stir the UFC to be interested. Is like, hey man, you're trashing our own product, and that's not cool.
I mean, is it crazy to think that with a bad performance here and a bad loss that he could get cut?
Wow. I mean, no.
Outside of the rankings, but when you think about it, he fought once in 2025. He lost to Drickus. I mean, obviously it was for the belt. It was a huge, thing. But he's not the most active fighter. He's got,
not the most exciting fighter.
Not the most exciting fighter. He looked the stuff he did from Izzy. I still think was. I loved it.
Oh, yeah,
I thought it was great. It was the perfect fight plan. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, that fight was not what it was. It kind of sucked." I was like, "Bro, he did the perfect fight for that fight," and I have no problems with that. But in general, a lot of times he talks one thing and then you get another thing, which I get it. You talk a big game, but at the end of the day, you want the W. Yep. It doesn't matter what the shit talking or whatever. But I just feel at some point, we've seen them cut people on winning streaks. I just wonder if he kind of, I mean, granted, he's a headliner, but if he shits the bed, I would not be surprised if they just want to, unless Donald is like, Dana, keep him around. The kid amuses me. Then the he'll never leave.
I guess
he'll be there forever.
I don't think the UFC would make that decision on their own, but because like you said, he's at the top. He does.
So you think he's untouchable in the UFC's eyes?
Oh, no. What I was going to say is I don't think the UFC would make that decision unless Paramount is like, hey, this does not look good for us. Like, we're investing $7 billion. These aren't the headlines we need. You know what I mean? At that point. Now, I know Dana would not respond very. Obviously, Dana's not going to be bullied into making a decision or whatever. But if they start saying, "Hey, this is the kind of stuff that could potentially void a contract here. Like, this is some disparaging stuff here. Like, we might have to pull the plug on this deal." I could see somebody saying, "Well, we'll just cut bait with the guy. How about that?"
Yeah.
It'd
be interesting. And
again, and I'm not saying they should. I'm not saying they should. Again, I'm not that guy that's like, this dude shouldn't fight. But it's just, it's off-putting even to me, man. I'm like, dude, we gotta come on, man.
It's just you're giving yourself a lot of side noise that if you don't perform absolutely at the top of your game and make it worthwhile, you're just giving them reasons to cut ties.
Yep.
Like. If he goes out there and starches Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, would be an incredible win.
Yep.
And the UFC's like, well, I know he doesn't please everybody,
but look at that.
But look at what he did.
Yep.
So just be quiet.
If you don't like him, get in the ring with him and beat his ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can do that.
But I mean, like whether he knows it or not, I feel like he's putting extra pressure on himself to perform a certain way, because if he doesn't, I almost feel like they could be looking for reasons, because they don't want to be on record and say, well, we cut a guy because we don't like what he's saying, because they already went on the record to say that we don't care what people say.
Right.
But if you behind the scenes say, like, guys, this shit's at some point it's got to stop, and if he doesn't perform well, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't renew. I don't know how many fights they have left on his thing, but at some point, he's gonna finally say the thing that pisses off somebody. Somebody that matters.
I think that's what
there's a handful of people.
Yep.
One of them isn't involved in matchmaking.
Yeah.
And the other ones are, and then the other ones are investors.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's what I'm getting at, is I feel like he's getting to a point now where obviously he doesn't care what he says. He's not worried about any blowback. He's not, if you want to fight him, he'll fight you. If you want to talk trash at him, he'll talk trash to you. Like, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
But then you start realizing, when what you say and do affects the company and the other people, like you said, I feel like he's getting to that point where he's going to upset one of those handful of people that does matter, and they're just like, bro, that's enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I hate to see him cross that line. I mean, I don't know. I said, because I don't want to see him lose his job. But.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I feel like he's treaded the same line, and maybe he's figured the water line of where he can pull back.
Exactly where it's at.
I mean, because he's kind of gone back to the same sort of, like, well of insults and things to sort of bring out. Mm-hmm. And maybe he's figured out, well, it hasn't pissed anybody off to this point, But, maybe, and that's his motive. He's like, okay, as long as I don't take it a little too far, if he starts going out there, and says something about, Turkey or somebody or some major investor, at some point it'll be out of the hands of the guys that would maybe normally shield him from that sort of stuff.
That's it. They start making demands. Like I said, if somebody at Paramount right now is seeing all these headlines and doesn't like it, and they're like, guys, either get rid of this dude or we're killing this deal.
Yeah. How much? It's funny. Paramount's throwing so much money around. How much of that money is just from foreign investors, and at some point how much say? I feel like we think of Paramount as being like a U.S. company and other stuff.
Right.
I don't know how much, when you look at the eventual, ownership structure, how much of that isn't overseas. The amount of money that they're throwing around, to come out of left field.
It's crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised if, if half the money that is behind their company is foreign money, and at some point that's a whole other set of people that you got to watch not pissing off. It's not just us here, so who knows? I don't know the structure, but when we've seen some of these bids and things, and when they were trying to put in for Netflix or Warner Brothers and stuff like that, the money just didn't make any sense. Even the UFC deal didn't make any sense because it was already valued more than what their whole company was. So but nobody's tracking the money. Nobody's really looking at the sort of dollars
the
right
$1 billion shell game going.
Yes,
It's
so
crazy.
It'd be interesting, but yeah, I mean, maybe and whatever. I mean, I think Sean, a lot of times when he says shit that's not completely, makes you want to just scratch your finger.
He's entertaining.
He is entertaining.
We say it all the time when he does a media day. It's like he's doing crowd work as a comedian. You know what I mean? Like it's like he'll, and we've all caught flares, we've all caught strays, we've all had some shrapnel or whatever, but he just does it.
Yeah.
So it's like I like the guy, and again, you talk about it, his teammates will tell you like what a good teammate he is.
100%.
You know, and how he's there for you. Yeah.
I've seen him stick up for people, and I won't say the fighter's name or whatever, but there was a fighter that was going way too hard against some other teammates that had fights coming up, like big brother in them, and just being way too hard.
Right.
Sean saw that, nipped it in the bud, and then he went hard on that dude. I've seen him stick up for his teammates, and you've heard it stick up. So I know he can be a great teammate, and we've heard that from multiple teammates. But at the same time, those same teammates are probably like, "Fuck, bro, you would be perfect." If you just shut the fuck up about some stuff, you don't have to say this.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
That's the one thing I would probably instruct. Like I know everybody's trying to resonate with the audience, and everybody's trying to get headlines, and everybody's trying. But like, you don't have to have an opinion on everything. You know what I mean? Like you don't. Like it's okay to just be like. And that's the worst part about Sean is like he doesn't even have to be baited into it. Like he just goes into stuff on his own.
Into it.
Like, oh man.
But I mean, a lot of times it's easier to talk about other things than talk about ourselves.
True.
It's easier to, if you're talking about the shell game, it's easier. Hey, look over here.
Yep.
Instead of really looking at me. If I say enough shit, you'll just stop talking to me. And that happens a lot of times in these interviews. Once you put somebody down because you're like, bro, you just said the most pretty horrendous shit. I don't want to ask you any questions. He's won. He got what he wanted ultimately.
That's
and
true.
I think a lot of people do some of that stuff. Like if I make you just disgusted, you'll stop asking me stupid questions, and then I can just say what the fuck I want, and then I'm off.
And I'm out.
It seems to work. But again, man. I mean, like I've seen the guy be a great training partner. I've seen him stick up for people in the gym. But we've also seen clips of him fighting with his guys. He would be the almost perfect guy if he would just be Sean and not be this other guy that shows up at media days.
Well, that is the main event, obviously, in Houston this weekend. Who'd you pick in that? Because this fight,
I picked Fluffy.
You picked Fluffy.
Yeah.
This fight's really interesting to me because
nothing about Sean stuff. I think Fluffy is an incredible fighter.
He's on a run right now.
Yeah, just in terms of like he'll get the fight to the ground. And I think if he gets it to the ground, I think he's got the better skills on the ground.
I would agree with that. I was a little surprised to see the line as big as it is with Anthony. Around a minus 300 in some places.
Interesting.
Just because, like. Really, these two dudes can go all 5 rounds. We know that. What I mean? One of them's not going to get tired and fade out. They're going to go 5 rounds. But Sean does have really good takedown defense.
I was going to say, if Fluffy can't get him down and he makes it a stand-up war, bro, that changes shit.
Yep.
I mean, if anybody doubts what Sean's capable of doing, look at the fucking Izzy fight. I mean, like, he shut down everything, and he just made it his fight, And it was just like, remember just watching, like, wow. Is this really happening? And like Izzy has no answer for it. I mean, Fluffy's got hands, but in terms of striking, I mean, if it stayed in a stand-up war, I've seen Sean just belittle people.
Move and pump
so
that
I would
jab.
give the fight to him, but I'm confident that. Confident can be after this. Just being a fucking media pundit. I think he's capable of getting the fight down. But yeah, Sean's got incredible takedown defense, and he's no slouch on the ground. It's going to be a fun fight, but yeah, I leaned Fluffy just for the skill set. It had nothing to do with media day. I mean, whatever. As much as I was like, I wish he wouldn't say some of these things. That had no effect on why I'm picking Fluffy.
Yep.
If Sean wins, I mean, Sean's obviously the better fighter that day, and I'll be celebrating his fight. It doesn't matter to me. But it was Fluffy's just I think he has the caliber to be a champ. I think he's just got to dial some things in, and maybe not smoke as much weed in the off.
Well, that's probably not going to happen.
I know that's definitely not going to happen. But no, I mean, I think it's just he's exciting and.
No, I agree. He's on a run right now. Again, if Sean pulls off the upset, it would not shock me because we know he has the skills to do it. But I would pick Anthony Hearn as well. I am very very interested in the fight itself. So, all right, listen, we'll talk more about the UFC card, but I had to get into the big news. of the week, which, of course, reporter of the year, journalist of the year, already told you guys months ago that this was happening, that Ronda Rousey was coming back, and she is fighting Gina Carano on Netflix. So kudos to you, Cold Coffee.
I did say it was going to be for a title thingy, but that was not the case.
Well, okay, so I feel like
if this was on the White House card, it would have been
crazy. So it's funny because I remember when you brought it up, and I was kind of like, dude, I think you're wrong in this one. But I wasn't. My perspective was from the UFC perspective, that I just didn't see Dana White bringing Ronda back and putting her against a current champion. Like, Ronda's not coming back to fight, number 12 or whatever, right? It would have to be a current champion or something like that. And I was
like Nunes when she was away.
Or Nunes if she
back.
Right. And I'm just like, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Like, and so even when you were saying like, I think there's a comeback, I was like, I just don't think it's going to happen even if she wants to. I didn't think about this.
Another organization.
Yep. I just assumed that Ronda would be, if it's not the UFC, I'm not going anywhere
fight.
else.
Yep.
There's a friendship, a loyalty. And I am really interested to hear how that all played out. Ronda said,
she did say she reached out.
Went to the UFC, and I know that Dana wouldn't. I guarantee you it wasn't like a money situation. Like, I don't think that, well, they're giving me so much money. I think it's just he doesn't want to see her compete again, especially, again, it'd have to be against like Amanda Nunes or somebody like that. Maybe they could. I mean, bringing back Gina Carano or bringing her to the UFC at this point, I don't think he would ever do. So anyway, I didn't foresee all this happening. But this idea that is this going to outdo a UFC? This is going to do massive numbers. Anybody that's not thinking that this is going to be probably the most viewed fight of the year in MMA, it will be. Like, this is huge. Netflix is massive. Their marketing is massive. Ronda's name is massive. I don't know if Gina's name is as massive as it used to be. I don't think it would take long for her to be. I mean, she's got a great highlight reel. She's obviously very photogenic.
Even outside of the MMA game, which I think a lot of the the newbies in MMA that didn't know that she fought know her more from Star Wars, Mandalorian, or the Fast and Furious series, that kind of stuff. She definitely has a name place out there, but in terms of like just even hearing the talks within the network, people in our network that don't normally know fight stuff knew that Tyson and Jake Paul was going to be big, and they know that this is going to be big.
It's going to be big.
They can the Netflix can easily say, every viewer that's a subscriber is already a viewer. They're going to say that's on there. It's going to be pushed, and they're already going to count that count. So they already got that's going into their numbers. But I guarantee my sister, my brother, people that don't watch fights are going to tune in because they remember what it was when Ronda became this thing. When the UFC put it in your face over and over. Dana on record saying, I will never have women's MMA in the UFC, to turn around and say, this is the woman that convinced me that I wanted to have women's MMA in the UFC. They all remember that.
And she was just destroying people, right?
Until they figured out how to defend an armbar.
Right.
She was running through people, and so everybody is looking at this fight. And the fact that it's funny because I thought there was a bigger age gap with Gina and Ronda. It's like only 5 years, something like that.
It's less than I thought as well.
I thought it was much further because I think she's 43. Ronda's I think 38. Going off what I think I remember, that's crazy. I assumed it was much more because she's been gone for almost 2 decades from the sport, which is absolutely bonkers. What was it? 2009 her last fight.
2009.
17 years. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. The fact that we're moving forward like the commission's already signed off on things. They still have testing. They still have things they have to do. But the fact that they're even allowing it to this point and even agree and didn't shoot it down right from the get-go is where I think a lot of other maybe commissions would have maybe questioned it. But maybe if the money runs the world. The commissions want to make money. The city wants to make money. A state will want this to come and be in their town because it's going to make that much money. But with what Ronda said on the record about possible CT, brain damage, all this other sort of shit.
That's fair.
Gina's last fight that she tried to fight a couple years after her. I don't know. I can't remember what the reasoning, but she tried to have a couple fights. A fight a couple years after her last one, I think in 2011. She wasn't medically cleared. I'd have to go back and try to figure out what happened at that point. There's a lot of questions. Like we're moving forward like this for sure is going to happen, but there's still a lot of things to be cleared, and they say there's going to be extensive testing. What does that mean? We made them look at 2 different light boards to see,
Well, and I was going to say, maybe worth pointing out that Ronda's mom is on the California State Athletic Commission.
Yes.
Maybe worth mentioning.
Yes, it's kind of
not that I'm suggesting there could be any foul play, but just
no. I mean, but we've seen how these commissions work, and to say that it isn't a good old boy system, or maybe in this one a good old mom system, to think that doesn't play into what people are picked to work events, what people get licensed, what people, there's always some sort of thing. Yeah, so to think that didn't play into it would be silly.
It might.
Because I mean, she's one part of the vote, and most of these things they just take a majority of the commission. So even somebody up there was like, "I'm not good on this." If the majority of the guys say it, it's going to happen.
Yep.
So it helps that it certainly helps to have somebody. On the board.
I feel like it will happen. I feel like they can probably clear up, but it is fair. I mean, just because they're ages, you know what I mean? Just because they're ages, that anybody that age, you see it all the time at the Nevada State Athletic Commission meetings, right? The fighter has reached the age of 38, therefore they must have additional testing. Some states it's 40, whatever. So that's fine. But yeah, the stuff that Ronda said was kind of troubling to say that now you're going to go back out there and fight. It's a little concerning. So maybe something will pop up. But assuming nothing does, and again, I'm not. I mean, I'm hoping this thing does happen, because I think 2 things can be true. Because I feel like this debate is going on that, like, I don't know, like, is it going to draw numbers? Dude, it's going to draw numbers. Is it a meaningful fight? Like, no, not really. But that's okay. You know what I mean? If people want to get together and have a fist fight for bags of cash, have at it. You know what I mean? Have at it. But it's going to do big numbers. It's going to be one of the most watched fights of the year. There's no question about it. It's not a pay-per-view. It's on Netflix. But it doesn't really mean anything in the way. Like, I would not pick either one of them to come back and win a UFC title right now. Like, they wouldn't.
Right.
But that's okay. They're fighting each other. I don't know. I feel like some people are like adamantly opposed to this fight happening. I'm like, good for them. You know what I mean?
That's their opinion. I mean, if you don't want to watch it, then you don't have to watch it.
Don't watch it.
I have no problem with it.
I don't either.
I mean, like, if just as I have more opposition to the fact of, like, judging and power slap than this fight happening. That sport, there's no defense, there's no whatever. Like, but if people have no problem watching power slap, how can you argue that this is happening?
Right.
If they're passing the medicals and they're 2 willing fighters that are going to go in there and they can actually do their martial arts, they can defend, they can shoot, they can try to punch, they can do whatever. Who cares?
Agreed.
It's going to be, I mean, I remember when somebody was asking about, who was it? It was my boss, was asking about Gina Carano. So, I mean, was she something in MMA? And I was like, bro, let me just tell you something.
She was Ronda before Ronda.
She was Ronda before Ronda.
Yep.
Like, in terms of pioneers, I mean, like, without Gina Carano and some of these ladies that from that time period, there wouldn't be the interest with a lot of these ladies. They proved that it was possible to go out and fight, and it wasn't about just being pretty and you got to stay home and do all the shit that Sean was saying they shouldn't be doing. Gina's one of the women that went out there and helped break those barriers down. Julie Kedzie.
Oh man.
There's so many.
So many.
That it's just, I think it's fantastic in the sense of that, like, Gina, I think, was probably one of the first. I think she was probably one of the first MMA crushes for anybody.
Everybody, bro.
So it's like, dude, the fact that she's still willing and able, I appreciated her in the Mandalorian. I was always happy that she was able to kind of go off and do something after the sport. So the fact that she wants to train, get back in here and do it, and then she's with, if not, the biggest women's MMA athlete of all time and maybe ever. Want to do it again, and both of them are training. Like, why wouldn't I want to watch it? Like, their contributions to the sport that we live and breathe and cover are so immense and have meant a lot to me that why would I not want them to, as long as they're safe to do it and they're not being forced into it, they're doing it of their own volition. Why would I not want them to go out and make a huge bag? And they're going to fucking make a huge bag. MVP is going to make a big bag off of this. They're going to make a bag off of it. The California is going to make a big bag off of it. Who cares? I mean, I have more opposition to the fact that, I don't want to say like I hate power slap, but I'm just like, it's ridiculous because I'll watch it. I'm just like, the judging is so inconsistent. I get more upset about power slap than I would over this.
Yeah.
Just because there's, I could talk forever about just the fine details. Of they're trying to be a sport, but you watch one match right after the other, and the judging is so inconsistent. I'm like that. I have a hard time calling that a sport if you can't have consistent judging or whatever, because that drives me crazy. I have no problem with this, and I think it's going to be. I think it's just going to be amazing. And anytime I can have a conversation with my family about what I do and cover, and have them get excited, makes me excited, because then they understand like why we do the long hours, why we do these sort of things, and it's all about the story and the characters, so you have a pioneer of women's MMA, and then the one that took it over the the flag and carried it to the next level, and then those two have mutual respect from each other, even though one thought one was fat and she was saving her. That was just silly. It's like Ronda.
That is
you don't have to say
a Ronda quote.
You don't have to say anything. But the fact that these two want to then take it to another level, and on a platform that's going to put it the most eyes that there's ever been for a women's MMA sport is going to happen in this event. So when Ronda's like, we're going to blow the numbers out of Paramount, 100%.
They are.
There's never been a women's fight with the potential eyeballs of what this fight will be.
Agreed.
And I like that it's on this mixed platform of boxing and MMA, because it's not a whole MMA event, right? It's just some.
I thought it was all MMA. Or is
I don't
it mixed
know.
together?
I thought it was maybe going to be a mix, but maybe I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe it will just be an MVP.
Well,
I assumed it was going to be a mixed
platform. That's a whole other interesting thing. Is MVP in MMA long term? Is this an actual viable promotion, or is it just a one-off?
And that's what I mean. Like a lot of people are already starting to say, like, oh, think about all the other MMA fights they can do. Like, they'll get some big names, and there's a lot of potential people out there. You got the Diaz's, you got the Anderson Silvas, you got the Francis Ngannous, you got a lot of these people that they can bring into it. But actually putting a full card of these sort of level of fighters is going to be kind of hard, and maybe I think sell it. But if MVP is able to pull some great boxing and mix it with some great fun like MMA, I think they can have a card that will attract more than just MMA fans. I think they can try to cross promote, but who knows? I just assumed, I haven't heard anything that says it's going to be a mixed one. I just assumed with MVP having some of these really, really cool like boxing events, why wouldn't they try to mix
feature
it?
A little bit of boxing
instead of try to go full on MMA, and then enter in the field. It could happen. Maybe they want to, but
if you're not in the UFC, you want to be on this card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on it. So to be on the undercard would be a huge opportunity for a lot of people.
It's going to be bonkers. Like the sheer numbers of this, anything that the UFC put on that week, if it wasn't the UFC White House, is going to dwarf UFC numbers. UFC could put on a title fight with 3 title belts, and I still think that this one would probably do more numbers just for the sheer, oh my God, I can't believe Ronda's fighting again factor. Gina will get some love. People are, us diehards that know who Gina was are excited to, wow, she's going to make a return. Let's see what's going to happen. Is it just going to be Ronda takes her down and takes the arm in 30 seconds? Could happen. But if Ronda wants to stay on the feet, maybe we'll get to see some Gina hands, and maybe there'll be something. But in the terms of just my respect for what these two women did, of course I'm going to watch that fight.
Absolutely.
And of course I'll be out there covering it,
Yep.
But the numbers that this event's going to do is going to it would destroy anything that anybody puts on that weekend. I mean, like, you're talking, if it was the Olympic coverage, I think it would probably beat the Olympic coverage for that night. If it was a Super Bowl, who knows? But I think it'd be pretty darn close. The numbers that this thing is going to do.
That's going to be big.
I can't.
It'll beat. I would go so far as to say, unless Conor comes back, it will beat anything the UFC does this year, other than maybe the White House card. And I don't even know who's going to be on the White House card yet, but I think the White House card is one of those things that just sells itself because it's the White House.
And it sells it outside. It's not a sporting event. It's an entertainment event. It's literally a cultural event that's happening. Whether people are pissed off because they seem that it's celebrating Trump's birthday more than the American 250 or whatever. It has will transcend just
100%.
being a sporting event.
You're going to have mainstream media outlets there that have nothing to do, that don't know anything about the sport, don't care about the sport, but are there just to cover exactly what's happening, and everybody's going to want to tune in and see the spectacle of live sports at the White House. That's the only thing I think that could potentially beat it. So
it said Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson. Granted, this is the AI numbers. Had Netflix announcing over 108 million live global viewers and 60 million households. I have no reason to think that they can't reach those numbers. At least I was thinking in my head.
Ballpark.
I was thinking at least 60.
Yeah.
60 to 80 million.
Yeah. 60 to 80
And
million,
at that point, I might as well just say they're going to be close to these numbers. If they said it's 108, I don't think it reached the Tyson because Tyson's literally
Tyson's Tyson.
Tyson
is one of the greatest cultural sport icons of our generation. So
yes,
but to think
Ronda was another generation's iconic one, and for a specific
and for women, right? We always talk about how all of a sudden we started seeing soccer moms and their daughters showing up at open workouts where we'd never seen that before.
I remember she walked the crowd in Brazil, and young girls were just bawling their eyes to touch her and take a picture.
Oh man,
I get chills. It was unbelievable.
The star power that she commanded was unbelievable, man.
So, dude, to think that she can't, I think it would be silly. Does it mean that it's competitive? And like you said, does it really mean anything outside of this spectacle and whatever? There's no lasting meaning for like the current fighters. And as for like, oh, could that then set her up for a title shot? No. But in terms of what they meant to the sport each in their own time period, it's huge. And I have no reason to believe that they can't easily break 60 to 80 million, and UFC can't even fathom to touch those numbers.
Other than the White House.
Yep.
I agree.
Other than the White House. There's nothing that will remotely... They're going to literally be like, you can add up all your UFC events this year and you're not going to touch it. I mean, I'm not sure what the Paramount numbers are streaming, but if it gets to over 60 million, 80 million, it's bonkers.
It's nuts, man.
It's bonkers. I'm pretty sure, didn't they break Netflix at the time or something?
They did. It was pretty bad.
It was straining the system. It was definitely a learning curve for them, and I would assume they were like, okay, guys, we need to fix this so this doesn't happen, because if this sort of stuff happens, but yeah, easily. The numbers are going to just be mind-numbing. It's just bonkers.
It's going to be crazy. I was a little surprised to see Ronda's tweet. This rivalry has so many layers. Netflix isn't playing around. Bet you we can beat Paramount Plus's UFC numbers. I don't know. Is there a little? I mean, Ronda's just Ronda, but is there a little? Her man? You think about the love her and Dana had for each other. You know what I mean? Like they were like pals, man. They always had each other's back. And I could see her coming to Dana and wanting to do it, and Dana saying, I just don't think that we're in that business. If you want to go do it elsewhere, go do it elsewhere. But I wonder if that caused a little risk. Because this is like a shot. Like, I bet we can beat, you know what I mean? Like, Dana has to take some offense to that. Right?
I don't know. I wonder. Because I think she easily could just say, I was just stating facts. It wasn't like saying, like, we're going to make Dana feel bad that he didn't take us. He's just like, we're just going to beat numbers. But it's hard to not take something.
She's factual.
Yeah. I mean, I was just trying to, granted, this is just web searchings, whatever. But when you try to pull up, like, some of the UFC 324 set records with, like, 4.96 million average minute audience, 7.18 million global households, and a 5.93 million peak concurrent view.
Right.
6 million.
Yeah.
If they get 60 million, it would take 10
times. 10 UFC events.
So they literally could sit, if they knock it out of the park, we'll literally could say, just going off the numbers we've seen, all your major numbered events this year, add them up and we'll beat them. It's fucking crazy, bro. That's if everything plays out well and everything does whatever. But I have no reason to. That's not even saying they match. If they matched what Tyson and Paul, they would blow out everything that the UFC did. Add them all up, everything, the whole year, and you're not going to touch it. But the UFC, the White House is the saving grace for them when they go maybe towards the year end. The White House numbers are going to be
that'll be off the charts.
That's global. I mean, that's crazy. Like everybody's going to be paying attention to that one.
Oh, and if they start talking about things like social media impressions or whatever around that event, it's going to be insane.
Billions. But I mean, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's going to be a crazy spectacle. It's maybe be one giant shit show of a fight, but I'll be here for it. You'll be here for it. And 100%. Everybody that's loved anything of these two will be watching it. And I think part of us just want to know, how are they going to look? Yep. Like if the commission's going to say, we think that they're okay to fight, you think that they're vetting them, and you want to see that. Yep. I don't want to see 30-second in, Gina's gassed and Ronda's just walking around in a daze after one shot to the head. Then you're like, okay, this is shame on you, and maybe shame on us because we wanted to see it.
I mean, Ronda, world-class athlete. Like, obviously, she's going to get herself in shape. I mean, we've seen the workouts that she did after pregnancy and all that. They're going to be in shape. I know that. They're going to be in shape. I have no question. So I don't think it's I'm not worried about them showing up and they're gassed in 2 minutes or whatever. I do worry about how the speed, I guess, just how athletic they still. I mean, I know they're both very athletic women, but once you start getting to an age, you start to slow down a little bit. Does that impact? And then if you see one jab and all of a sudden, Ronda looks like she's dazed, like it'll be sad.
If they start doing like a TKO routine where they start like throwing fake punches and start going to wrestling routine, and then next thing you know, Gina climbs onto the cage and drops like a bionic elbow or something, and then we're like, oh, they didn't say it was going to be a real fight. They just said it was going to be a fight, i.e. TKO.
Would that be crazy? Like
Becky Lynch comes out of the side with the belt and challenging off to this.
Oh my god, that would be great. So like it's in a ring, but they say it's in a ring because they're doing boxing. So they do some boxing.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, well, it's MMA in a ring. We've seen that before. Okay, but then all of a sudden they start like throwing them into the ropes.
Oh yeah. Then we're like, oh, joke's on us. We thought it was a fight.
No, that's too funny. No, it's to me that my thing was like, hey, I think this is cool for them, but again, it doesn't impact world rankings. It doesn't impact but it's weird. It's our buddy Ant Evans. I saw he had this tweet. He said MVP should do a world tour of fights Dana couldn't make: Anderson versus GSP, Anderson versus Jones, Ngannou versus Jones, Brock versus Fedor, which I thought was a funny one. And then have them go head-to-head with the likes of Volk versus Lopez 3 and 4. Now, obviously, Ant, as the former UFC employee that likes to poke the bear.
That was a poke right there.
That was a poke
Volk,
right there.
Lopez 3.
Volk versus Lopez 3. Yeah, that was a poke. But it is interesting. That is a weird thing about this game, right? Is that like we all agree this is going to do huge numbers, and we all agree that it doesn't impact who's the best in the world right now. Could the UFC get away with doing more stuff like this? Dana always says, like, look, we don't do freak show fights, and I don't mean, and I want to use that with disrespect, because this is not a freak show. These are two top level athletes, but they're top level. I mean, there's a reason they didn't do Tito and Chuck 3 in the UFC, and it happened in Golden Boy, right? This is not a fight that would take place in the UFC at this. Oh, that was bad. This will be better than that. This will be better than that. This will be better than that.
Yes.
I hate to say it, but this will be better than that. But I mean, do you think, like, if the UFC put this on, could they get away? I mean, do you think people would take shots at Dana?
Tough.
Like,
they would totally take shots at him. I mean, because I think they want it to be legitimate. His whole thing was like, I don't want to. I don't employ fighters that are on their way out. I want the up and comers. I want the ones I can build around.
I want the guy going from 10 to 1, not 1 to 10.
Because it's just kind of tough to justify. The same thing with like the boxing. They're trying to build something and put themselves out there as an organization that's about the best of the best or whatever, not just about these shows. Even though they make some decisions that oftentimes the rankings kind of get thrown out the window, but that's usually because of the performances of these fighters have kind of like propelled them to where the fans are like clamoring, like, I want this fight. The fighters want this fight. Okay, we're giving you the fights that you want,
Right.
While the fans want this fight and think this is whatever, these are two fighters that haven't fought in so long. They've said whatever. And Dana, I think, does have a lot of respect for Ronda and doesn't want her to fight if she's beyond whatever. I mean, like, at some point you got to listen to the fighters, and the fighter says, hey, I have lasting damage or whatever. Last thing you want to do is create a liability for yourself and put them into a fight. Then if something goes wrong and something happens, people are going to look back at you and like, why did you even put that fight together? I think they're in there for the long haul. They're not in for just these crazy spectacles.
Yep.
I think at some point they would just be like, they have to draw a line somewhere.
And to be honest with you, I think that's the right decision for them, is not to have a fight like this in the UFC. And I know some people are like, even Ant, and of course Ant is a good friend of ours, and he's always going to poke the bear anytime he can. But they might look at you and say, well, why won't you take you just said this is going to do huge numbers on Netflix. Why shouldn't it do huge numbers on Paramount Plus? But I honestly think, for the long-term business health, it is better to not take the short-term payoff and bring this in and
good for those that are off to the side that want to do it. You want to take the risk, you're going to reap the rewards. MVP's they're going out there, they're creating this, if it is their first MMA event or whatever, and it's a full MMA or whatever. But you literally are going to spend an assload of money to make this fight happen, and you're going to get rewarded from it. But then that's it. They're not really trying to establish themselves as being, all right, we're going to be the number 2-1. We're going to go against the UFC. But they realize that they can make some money and do their thing. But that's kind of been their business model for a while now. like nobody thought like, hey, we're gonna see Jake and Tyson again. Like, oh, can't wait to see the next Tyson fight.
Right.
It was they have kind of carved their little niche out. They're making lots of money and they're doing these quick little crazy one-offs, but people don't expect them to, I think, make, outside of some of these Serrano fights and some of the boxing ones, they have put on some good boxing cards. So I think they've kind of established themselves as a good boxing promoter and put on some of these things. But I don't think they're trying to become an MMA promoter, but I think they've certainly found their niche of finding fights and be willing to share the revenue, share the pay, and make these big payouts and then get out. Where Dana and them are like, well, we have it's a media company, it's an entertainment company. They have this huge overhead, and they have a lot of investors that are trying to get that money. So they're a lot less likely to do some of these one-offs, and like we said, risk the eventual, thing that people start thinking is your organization is just one that puts on these crazy things. Like, no offense to like Fight Circus, but nobody UFC's not trying to go out there and be like a fight circus,
right?
And just put on like crazy whatever.
Gotta love Fight Circus.
Yeah, I love them, But like, it's not like, I mean, if you're going to make money, you can put like short people out there fighting three short people fighting a giant. And I used short people and didn't say anything else. Of course, you can make money, and that's a circus thing. But it's like at some point, you don't want to be seen as a circus. Right. You want to be seen as a legit thing, and I think that's why.
Especially with all the effort you put in to get where you are now, and all the dark days and all that. So.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, they went through the time of when people were calling them the human cockfighting and all the other stuff. Like, why risk making it seem illegitimate and just like a circus when you've built this much,
agreed,
credence to your name and that much respect or whatever,
Well,
so.
it's gonna be big, and look
bonkers. I'll
look
be there.
no further than the fact that you already know you're gonna be there.
I already just got the word that I can plan on being there.
The fact that USA Today, not the sports department, not the MMA department, like the main people are like, hey, this is on our radar. Yeah. What's the plans for it? Like that just already goes to show you where this is going to register in the culture, man. Yep. So,
and that means like when we say that, it's funny because people might be like, well, of course, when they like, trust me, it does not happen that often.
No,
it does not happen often when it switches over. But on the rare occurrences when they realize that it's not just a sporting thing, it's an entertainment. This is a everybody wants to pay attention thing. It does not happen often. So when they jump on board and we say like, oh, hey, like these guys are on board, like this means something.
Yeah, it does.
It's crossed a threshold.
It has indeed. I'm looking forward to it. So, all right, listen, speaking of boxing, kind of touching on that, Zuffa Boxing, you and I were both at Zuffa Boxing, the little banger of a card they put on Sunday. I had to leave a little bit early. I left 2 fights early because I had to go to my Backstreet Boy. By the way, the suite. Bro, if you can get a suite, that man, private entrance.
Did you get your dance on? Did you dance a little?
It
looked like some of the people in there weren't enjoying it much. They looked like they were just like, we're not sure if we're supposed to let loose.
It was pretty. It was an eclectic mix of husbands and wives, and the wives were definitely enjoying themselves, and some of the husbands were just.
Did you guys
chilling.
Finish the bottles?
We definitely got through. I think it was good. It was solid. But no, it was great. I didn't know. I did know some Backstreet Boys song. I didn't know all of it by any stretch. Like there was there was a big portion of the show. I was like, I don't think I've ever heard this in my life. But they had obviously some huge hits. But just a sweet, man.
It's
so
baller.
Nice, man.
It's funny because your wifey posted that picture of you and you were in your little blue shirt.
Yep.
And I told her, I said that now that blue is now Millennium Blue from this day on. It is now Millennium Blue.
That was pretty good. That got me. So I had to leave a little bit early to go catch that. But I was like, this is a pretty cool Vegas night right here. I went from boxing to the Sphere. Like,
and there were some really fun fights. There were some fun fights. The main event was a little bit lacking. I mean, you eventually got the end that you wanted to see, but leading up to it, like the co-main event was just incredible. The fight before that was just incredible.
Just really good fights.
But it was kind of interesting. But it's so Dana's went out and said some things recently, and I just bring it up because he was talking about Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn yesterday was like, if I put on a card and had Charles Martin as the main event, y'all would shit on me.
It's true.
So like he's like,
it's true. So I was gonna say because even obviously we'll be the first to admit neither one of us are experts in the field of boxing, right?
100%.
We live
not
in
even
MMA.
Close.
Not even close.
Nothing.
But you look at the odds, you know what I mean? You looked at the card. I mean, it was a very one-sided card. And and I saw some people talking trash about that, and I get it. I think early on they're going to have some fights like that, right? Like you're trying to build some highlights. you just like to have some highlights to use for marketing. You know what I mean? You're trying to build some stars. So I think you're going to have some one-sided matchups. I don't believe that's ultimately the goal of how they want the whole thing to be. But I think you're going to see some of that early on as they kind of get this thing fleshed out. But to your point, I do love that Eddie Hearn is starting to clap back a little bit.
Oh,
too,
yeah.
Because Eddie and Dana,
between the two of them, I mean, like, it's fun. It's funny.
We're going to get years
of
these two going. Like, they're because neither one of them gives a fuck.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny because, like, whenever Dana would talk about Oscar De La Hoya, eventually it just got nasty, and you're like, yeah, Oscar can't come back to this.
Right.
Oscar is just he's not even in the league.
No.
Eddie is funny, and he's sharp, and he's smart. So, like,
witty.
you know, rather than just take him like, oh, okay, you know, you said this about babies. He's like, well, that's one really weird phrasing to bring up, you know, and talking about it. And I was like, that's true. And then when he was like, you know, he's like, oh, yeah, I work for my dad. Yeah, I do work for my dad, but Dana's got dads as well. And he starts going off, and I was like, oh,
I love that. I love it. He's like, if anybody hasn't seen it, Eddie did a couple interviews, and he's got the same talking points together, right?
Yeah.
It's clear that he's got his talking points because there were like 2 or 3 different interviews that basically mirrored each other. But it is pretty good where he's like, normally people are in this business for years before they go at me for working at my dad. You know what I mean? He's 3 events in, and he's already going to, oh, you work for your dad. He's like, well, guess what? You work for I saw that. He's like, go be good for Poppy. Go good for Poppy. I was like, oh,
and to that point, you know, Zuffa Boxing is only 3 events in.
Yep.
Like, stuff is going to change.
Yeah.
So it's hard to try to compare, you know, Zuffa Boxing's 3 against a promoter that's putting on event, you know, their 1,000th event or whatever. You know, like, it's not going to have the same level. But I think even Zuffa Boxing said that when they were starting, they were going for the up-and-comers, the young guys, you know, people that are trying to create their thing. So, and it's going to change and different other little sort of things. But in terms, and he kept saying, like, fighting for 120 people in a garage or garage. I was like, there's more than 120 there. 120. You know? But you could see his points, you know. Both of them have their little points. But it was thoroughly entertaining. One, hearing Dana, I was like, wow, this was fun just hearing him sort of go off. Whereas normally before it's always about Bob Arum, or it would get into Oscar, and then he just, you know.
Which those aren't, like, it's not even fun.
Yeah, it's just like, okay. But to have him have a new one, a new sort of target, where he's still, like, saying stuff, but he's still kind of polite about it. You know, he's not being too, like, crude about it, but then actually get some clap back on the other side. That's great. Again, in the same sense, was kind of not the worst and did not really disparage. And even at the very end, he's like, you know, I would tell Dana, watch these next 2 fights, look at the crowd, feel the thing, blah, 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 blah. Like, take notes, and then we'll see, you know. But he also says, like, they're going to change. They're going to grow.
Yep.
They're going to learn some things, you know, like they do. There's some good things. So, I mean, he was still being politeful, but he put those jabs in there, you know.
Fun.
Like, you know, if your vision's about just giving everybody a free tracksuit, you know, just like, oh, shit.
So good.
Like, it's a lot of fun, like, what these two. And if anything else, I mean, like, even if it was just an unwritten rule, like, they're helping that heat, that little sort of subtle rivalry is drawing eyeballs to it. So even by them
100%.
talking junk about each other makes more people like, well, shit, now I got to watch the next one.
I got to watch that.
Now I got to watch the next one. So it all works in their favor, you know.
Look, Zuffa Boxing is going to have success. They just will. They have the money behind it. You know, they're so well funded.
Yeah.
The operations, we've talked about how well run like UFC events are, and obviously it's, you know, it's added people, but they're following the same system. You know what I mean? So
I had a boxing media guy. He's like, I don't want to say his name or whatever, but he's like, don't be surprised if in 5 years, and he's like, boxing on the media will give me shit. He's like, don't be surprised 5 years that Zuffa hasn't taken over the scene. I was like, interesting.
Agreed.
I was like,
agreed. I think people that are trying to say that it won't happen are either they're not close enough that they haven't seen the UFC in order and operations and how they handle things, or they're just wanting to be haters because they don't want the new kid on the block to succeed. They're gonna succeed.
Yeah,
they're gonna succeed. And look, especially because like you said, if I'm an up and comer. And I don't think a lot of people know this. I mean, they probably do. Anybody listening to this, I would think you're pretty well studied. But when people talk about what boxers make, at the very top, they make insane money. But the middle class, you know, you got guys making $100 a round, man. Like, it's so to come in and have access to the PI, and it's to have the training gear, and yes, it's funny, there's your vision just to hand out the tracksuit, but to have that stuff and to have that support and the nutrition and all that stuff. Dude, it's huge.
Physical therapists, you know, the gym, everything, like, and it is one thing coming from, granted, I'm sure, a lot of boxers that fight week were just higher than they were high as a kite because they loved everything that was happening. Every person we talked to was just so happy and elated. They're like, I feel like a superstar. I walk in here, they're taking care of me. They shuttled me from the airport. They got me here. I'm walking around. They're taking this. And they're getting photos. They're doing the other stuff. I'm able to go over and work in the gym. I'm able to do this. Like I can get a massage after it and all the other stuff. They're just like, this is nuts. Why would I go anywhere else? Like they're literally building and they're finding the right fighters. They're creating this, loyalty with these guys because they're giving them something that nobody else did.
And this is what Dana always said. He's like, boxing never built anything. It's always a going out of business sale. We're extracting as much money as we can, and we're not putting anything back into the sport. That's exactly what he meant.
Yeah,
they're going to have success.
When you look at the spectacle that Hearn and these guys are able to do, it clearly dwarfs anything that Zuffa Boxing is going to do maybe ever or at any time for the next 5 years until they get into real venues. It's not trying to be that sort of thing. I think they understand that we're not going to put on the same sort of spectacle. But if that's all you can say that you have is I'm putting on shows at a major event and you're watching, this spectacle, that's it. It's the one-off. Yep. That's like you said. It's a cash grab. You're grabbing in. You're taking your bit of money. You're going to put on these big names. You're going to put whatever, and then that's it. Then maybe you see that fighter again. Maybe that year. Maybe you see whatever, and then who knows? Because they're working with other promoters or whatever. Whereas the UFC's they're literally now creating this infrastructure for these boxers, these young boxers, to get the training they need to grow their career. And then then they start reaching out to others, and then who knows where it starts going off, and then they start getting into sponsorship deals, and then they start getting all this other stuff.
If I was a young boxer and I had the opportunity to go to Zuffa Boxing, I would jump on it all day.
Yep.
Like, go build your career there. Now, again,
get the reps, get the fights, get some money.
Maybe you get to a point where you are a Canelo or you are a Star, a Tank, where you're like, hey, let me out of this deal because I know I can make more money on the open market. You know what I mean? That may be the case. Now, granted, I'm sure the UFC will probably get into maybe they won't do pay-per-views since they don't do pay-per-views for UFC, but I'm sure they'll work in big fight type scenarios as well. But if anything, like in the early days, man, use that platform to build your platform and to build your presence. I think that's smart. And then you may decide, okay, I've outgrown Zuffa Boxing and now I need to go out here and get on the open market and have these purse bids and that sort of thing. But as a young boxer, I would say jump on it.
Yep. And if you can have a lawyer look at this stuff, just like with anything else.
This is true.
It's just, we make it sound like it's easy to hop out of these things, but the Zuffa is really good, and that's the big thing that everybody's worried about is you're getting locked into these contracts that you can't get out of.
Yep.
You have to be smart, just like when you sign. Every time you get a job, you have to sign employment details, and a lot of times, do we pay attention to the fine details that say maybe, hey, if you leave, you're going to be in a non-disclosure agreement for a year or two? We're like, I didn't know that. Yep. I didn't pay attention. A non-compete, or whatever. Look at the stuff. If you have the opportunity, jump at it, but be smart. Have somebody look at what you're signing and see what you're giving up, and make sure that it is worth it to you, whatever they're offering. And if it's good for you, getting the access, getting the pay to what you're agreeing to, agree to it, and then just be good with your agreement.
Yep.
If you make an agreement and you sign the contract, you're signing that contract, but make sure it's at least the best that you're willing to agree to.
Yep.
If you start fighting, you're like, oh, shit, I didn't pay attention. I didn't realize that at my fourth one, I automatically roll into something, blah, blah, blah. Who knows? Yep. Whatever. But, like with anything, and you're excited to sign with the Zuffa Boxing, have somebody look at the contract. Make sure that you're willing to deal with the contract.
And that's good. That's good advice for anybody in combat sports, period. Is to listen, man, you, at various points in your career, you can operate without a manager. Like in the early days, you can probably operate without a manager because you're making so little that they're not going to be highly motivated to do much for you anyway.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And some point, maybe later in your career, you may feel like you don't need a manager because you've learned the game and you know all the contacts.
Yep.
But at the very least, whether you think you need the services of a manager or not, you definitely need the services of a lawyer. Always have a lawyer overlook your contracts before you sign something, man.
And right now, with I know we've talked about it in the past too. And granted, AI is not a proper legal advice, but if you get a contract in a form that you could put it in and say, and we talked about it before, look at this contract. How does this sort of look? These are my ultimate goals. That what I want. I want the freedom to do this in 5 years or whatever. How tough is it to get out of this? Paste the damn document. The AI will take what you are setting as your specifications and compare it to the script and sort of tell you, okay, knowing what you're wanting, these are probably areas we need to look at and focus. Is it proper legal advice? No, but is it a hell of a lot better that didn't exist 10 years ago, 15 years ago when people were signing into these contracts? It didn't exist. But now it is there. Now it is a tool. Use that and go in at least with some sort of idea, but it doesn't make you get away from having to have maybe a lawyer just to look at it.
It'll at least give you some
certainly
suggestions.
gives you some eyeballs.
Yeah.
It's another set of eyeballs. And I'm telling you, man, to think that it's the wealth of knowledge that goes in that shit and how quickly it can spit out, it's silly to not just run shit by it. I had to put in some documentation the other day, and I was like, we'll have to respond to this questionnaire. I was like, I put my answers, and I was like, okay, I think this is good. I was like, but let me just put this into AI and have it look at the questions. And it came back, and it was like, okay, I think you have a great start here. I'm going to remove this phrase here because it kind of sounds resentful. And I was like, oh, it actually was a little bit. And I was like, okay, thank you for pointing that out. I could have easily just posted without it, but it's nice just to run it by. The thing is literally being fed data constantly.
Yeah.
So in terms of like legal advice and just other stuff, it's got so good. It's worth it to at least take a peek at it. And that's, I think, in anything. I think that's regular employment contracts, everything. But just give it some help and then look at it. Don't take it verbatim like what it says. Like, still look over its answers, but it's amazing what it's doing right now.
I have not dove as far as you have into AI and worked with it the way you have, but like when I was asking you one time, we're going to new markets with CFFC, and I was like, I was like, since you have ChatGPT, I'm like, could you just Google it real quick? And I said, here's the city we're going to. Can you find me like all MMA gyms within, so let's say 200 miles?
Yeah.
And it came back with, not only did it come back with all the gyms, which was awesome, but then it was like, gyms known for more professional teams, or
like
gym known for amateur
or
teams.
something.
Yeah, like, and then it was like, would you like me to set up some interviews, or would you? I was like, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Bonkers. And it was like, you said a request. I was like, okay, let me blah, 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 paste. Okay, here's your response.
Here's your answer right there. It's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty game changer.
Speaking of a game changer,
I wonder if
cool.
I should enter it and see what it thinks what it predicts on Ronda Rousey. While you're saying your last bit, I'm gonna do that right now and just get its thoughts on what it predicts on the outcome.
Too funny. The last thing I was gonna offer up was just how good it was to see Cain Velasquez out of jail, man. It's happy for him, man. It's one of those, and we talked about it when it was kind of unfolding, right? That it's one of these horrific, horrible, gray area type things, right? Where it's like, and Cain himself has owned up to the mistake that he made and understanding that what he did, had to be punished by law. We said from the beginning, like, you can't have people driving through the streets firing guns in the public and not face some repercussions. But yet, and especially, me as a parent, I mean, anybody can relate to it, but especially once you're a father, like it definitely hits home so hard that you're like, what he did is what everybody would want to do or would say that they would do. You know what I mean? And the fact that this guy hasn't even gone to trial yet is ridiculous. But So anyway, it just was good to see Cain Velasquez out, and obviously. Kind of cool that it was caught by the mariachi band.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was wild. I'm surprised. I don't know if I'm surprised there weren't like news cameras there. So maybe it was kept private. I'm
sure they probably kept it private so they could have that moment or whatever.
Have that real official family moment.
Yeah.
But it's weird because it's funny because I've seen the reaction to it, and some people are still like, "How can you be happy for this man? He broke the law." But it's like, come on, man. Like he messed up, and he paid his price for it. And I know he's owned up for it. But what a shitty situation. Obviously, what a good dude he is. And it's good to have him out.
Yeah, it was nice to see that reaction. I mean, just even like you could tell that he had been waiting for those hugs, and then to see it, and it's hard. It was hard to like. I mean, how could not anybody get moved by that moment?
That one got me emotional that day. I was like, that was a day that I opened Twitter, and I was like, oh, this is good. So I got my warm sunshine. Today was not that day. That day was that day. So I guess we just have to take all the days together. What does ChatGPT?
It will tell you most likely the predictable outcome, the most likely result: Rousey by first round armbar, and it goes on to tell tell some reasons, but bottom line side, from a pure stylistic matchup, 70 to 80% probability Rousey wins by submission inside round 1. Carano had star power and striking appeal. Rousey had a historically dominant specialized finishing system. Now, if we're talking promotional impact, that fight in 2013 might have been the biggest women's MMA fight ever at that time.
Wow.
Which is true, but it does do some breakdown. But yeah, it says
That's
Rousey
funny.
by first round armbar.
I tend to agree. That's my pick.
Yeah, it's going to be an armbar.
Unless again she gets caught and her chin is just completely gone.
They could literally be like, "Can you sell it a little bit? Can you make it to the second round? Can you try to stay striking for a little bit?" Because I don't think she's worried too bad about Carano knocking her out. At least sell it a little bit. And that's not like a work. That's just like, can you give us a little something? Can you try to make it to the second round?
Carry her a little bit.
Carry it a little bit. That happens all the time. A lot of people say
that.
Give us
a little Floyd Mayweather.
I mean, a lot of people go back and say Anthony Joshua and Jake was being carried by Joshua as well. A lot of people. I mean, I think there was still some running around. He had to catch up to him, but could he maybe have finished it a little bit earlier? Quite possible. But
I didn't think he was carrying him. I felt like he was just being cautious because he was like, I can't lose here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I lose here, that's not good.
Ronda's going to feel the same way. I can't lose here. But, no, it'd be interesting. But, I mean, like, I think everybody thinks it's going to be over in minutes. And it would just be crazy because all this buildup that we're going to do, and then everybody expects it. And if it's done in minutes, everybody's like, wow, that's what we expect.
Done in like 12 seconds.
I know. Please let it go for a little bit. But no, it'll be interesting, and it's going to be absolutely mind-numbing numbers. It's going to be bonkers. I wouldn't be surprised if Netflix didn't fix the problem before, it's going to get broke that night. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I'll be there for it. I'm looking forward to it.
Love it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Other fights, Dan Ige versus Melchizedek Costa. That could be a really, really good fight this weekend.
Pick Costa on that one.
Pick Costa in that one?
Yeah. I didn't pick him as last one, and I was like, I've been picking him up into that point. The kid's just amazing. I mean, and nothing against Ige because I think Ige's got all the heart and the talent in the world. Costa, I think, is just fighting. He's fighting the best he's ever fought right now.
He really is. He's on a nice run. Jacoby Smith and Josiah Harrell could be a really fun fight.
Yep.
I like that one a lot.
Somebody's O's got to go.
Somebody's O's got to go. Chidi Njoku and Carlos Leal could be good. Cody Osborne is on there. It's a fun fight card up and down.
I picked Reese over Pereira, too. I decided I've stopped picking him. He's made me. I can't.
It's impossible to figure that guy out.
I know, and it seems like he's got all the talent in the world, and then something happens on fight night. So I picked Reese on that one.
Jordan Levitt versus Yair Del Valle. That's a good fight there as well. Did you see Juliana Miller just get absolutely? She's hit. I love her. I know. I kind of like it.
I fucking love Juliana.
Got that little anger.
I fucking love her. As long as she is on the prelims, I'm Team Miller for life. I will not pick against her. But yeah, she's a big underdog. And boy, she was pissed.
I loved it. I love it. A little chip.
She took that shit personal.
And I took that personally. Awesome. All right. Well, listen. UFC Houston this weekend. Everybody enjoy that. And we'll be home for a while. I don't travel for a couple weeks, so watch a little Paramount Plus and hopefully it's a little warmer
next week we're going to tape early. We're going to tape on Tuesday because I'm going to go visit a friend in Denver. And I leave on Wednesday, so we'll tape early on Tuesday.
Didn't you just go to Colorado?
I did. I might be visiting more often.
All right, we'll just leave that there.
Happy things.
Thanks for listening.